It was evening in Tsiakam, a small and quiet village in Benue state. The sun was slowly going down, turning the sky orange and gold. The birds were flying back to their trees, and the breeze felt cool after a hot day. People were finishing their work. Farmers were returning from their farms with baskets full of yam, maize, and vegetables. Women were coming back from the stream, carrying water pots on their heads. Children were laughing and running around, playing games like Suwe and 10-10 on the dusty ground. Turkimbi, a 10-year-old boy, sat on a wooden stool beside his grandfather under the big mango tree in front of their hut. His grandfather, whom everyone called Baba, was a wise old man with grey hair and a soft voice. Baba loved to tell stories, and Turkimbi loved to listen. Tonight's story was about how their people used to fight with spears and bows to protect the land long ago. Baba's voice was calm and slow. Long ago, we did not have police. The men of the village would come together when danger came. They stood like trees, strong and still, even when the wind was wild, Baba said, pointing at the tall trees nearby. Turkimbi's eyes grew wide. Did they win, Baba? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, Baba said with a small smile. But they always stood. They never ran. Just then, a distant sound interrupted the moment. Tuck 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 tuck. It was faint at first, but getting louder. Baba stopped speaking. He turned his head and listened. Turkimbi looked at him. What is it, Baba? The boy asked. Baba didn't answer right away. He stood up slowly, using his stick for support. The sound was clearer now. It was the sound of motorcycles, many of them. Usually, motorcycles meant visitors or traders. But this didn't sound normal. The engines were too many, and they were too loud, almost like a warning. Turkimbi looked around. Some other villagers were also coming out of their houses, looking toward the same direction, the bush path that led to the main road. Turkimbi, Baba said quietly, go inside. Now. The boy felt a shiver run through his body. He had never heard Baba speak like that before. Not afraid, but serious, like when he warned about snakes hiding in the grass. Go get your mother and sister. Tell them to stay inside and put off the light, Baba added. Turkimbi ran into the hut. His mother was pounding yam in the back room while his little sister, Ladi, played with a doll made of old cloth. When she saw the look on his face, she dropped the pestle. Mama, Baba said we should go inside and turn off the lamp. He heard motorcycles, many of them, Turkimbi said quickly. His mother wiped her hands on her wrapper and looked out the window. She didn't ask questions. She grabbed Ladi and told Turkimbi to help move a big basket in front of the door. Outside, more villagers were rushing into their homes. A few brave men gathered near the market square, looking worried. Dogs were barking loudly. The sun had almost set now. Shadows stretched long across the ground, and the orange sky was turning purple. Then came the sound that made everyone's heart freeze. Gunshots. Pa! Pa! Pa pa pa! Turkimbi's mother pulled him and Ladi to the floor. They lay flat on their mats. The baby was shaking. Turkimbi had never felt his heart beat so fast. Stay quiet, Mama whispered, her voice trembling. From the back window, they could hear the motorcycles roar into the village. Screams followed. Loud voices. More gunshots. The attack had begun. But inside that little hut, time felt frozen. Turkimbi's mind was full of questions. Why were these men here? Why were they shooting? Would they come into the house? Baba was still outside. Turkimbi wanted to look, but he was too scared. Then he remembered Baba's words, they always stood. They never ran. So he stayed still. He held his little sister's hand, even as she cried silently. Outside, the peaceful village was no longer quiet. Fire, noise, and fear had come to Tsiakam. And the night had just begun. The night came quietly. The sky above Tsiakam was dark but calm. Stars blinked high above, and the moon hung like a soft lantern. Most villagers had gone to bed. Some small cooking fires still glowed faintly in front of huts, and quiet laughter could be heard from the corner where young men often told jokes after dinner. Turkimbi was already inside with his family. He lay on a mat next to his little sister Ladi. Their mother was folding clothes near the door, and Baba had already gone to sleep. Outside, crickets chirped, and the wind rustled the dry leaves of the mango tree. Then, it started. At first, it sounded like distant thunder, low, rumbling, and strange. But it wasn't thunder. It was the sound of motorcycles. Many of them. Turkimbi sat up quickly. His mother turned toward the door. "Stay quiet," she said in a whisper. The sound of engines grew louder. Then came the sharp cracks, gunshots. 1, 2, 3. Then many more. Shouts followed. Not the playful kind. Angry, violent ones. The whole village jumped awake. People screamed. Doors slammed. Children cried. More gunshots rang through the night like firecrackers, but deadlier. Turkimbi's heart pounded. He had never heard anything like this before. He felt his mother grab him and Ladi, pulling them to the floor. "Lie down. Don't move," she said firmly, covering them with her body. From the floor, Turkimbi could see shadows moving outside their hut. There were loud voices, men shouting in a language he didn't understand. Then a crash. A door nearby was kicked open. The bandits had entered the village. They moved fast, shouting and firing their guns into the air. Some kicked down doors and rushed into homes. Others smashed shops and stole whatever they could carry, bags of rice, radios, clothes, even goats. The air filled with smoke and dust. One of the huts near Turkimbi's caught fire. The flames lit up the night in flashes of orange. The fire grew quickly, crackling as it spread from one roof to another. From inside the hut, Turkimbi could hear a woman screaming outside. A man yelled for help. Someone else cried out in pain. It was chaos. Turkimbi covered Ladi's ears and whispered to her, "It's going to be okay, just stay quiet." Their mother held them tightly. She didn't move, not even when the shooting got closer. Her arms wrapped around them like a shield. In another part of the village, some young men tried to fight back with sticks and machetes. But they were no match for the armed bandits. One of them, Uncle Turner, ran into the bush after trying to stop the attackers near the well. No one saw him again that night. The shouting went on for what felt like forever. But in truth, it lasted only about 30 minutes. Then, as suddenly as it started, the noise began to fade. The motorcycles roared again, this time heading back the way they came. The engines became fainter, then disappeared into the dark. Silence returned, but it was not peaceful. It was the silence of fear. No one moved at first. The villagers were too scared to come out. They waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10. Then, a baby cried from a nearby hut. A mother sobbed. A man shouted, "Is everyone okay?" Slowly, people began to crawl out of their hiding places. Some walked like ghosts, looking around as if unsure what was real. Others ran toward neighbors to check if they were safe. Turkimbi's mother finally let go of him and Ladi. She opened the door slowly and peeked outside. "Come, stay close," she said gently. They stepped outside into a different world. The night air was filled with the smell of smoke and dust. Some huts were burning, others broken. Chickens and goats were running wild. A few people sat on the ground, crying. Others just stared at the destruction. Turkimbi saw one of his friends, Aon Dofa, with blood on his arm. His shirt was torn, but he was alive. Baba came out of the hut, coughing from the smoke. He leaned on his stick and looked around with sad eyes. "This night," he said quietly, "will never be forgotten." More villagers gathered. Someone brought a small torch and waved it around to check for more damage. Another man shouted, "We need to count the people. Check the homes." Mothers called their children's names. Fathers looked for missing relatives. One man found his brother unconscious near the road. He had been beaten but was breathing. Some children cried loudly. Others sat in silence, too scared to make a sound. Turkimbi held Ladi close. Her cloth doll was missing. She didn't even ask for it. "Why did they come?" he asked his mother. She looked at him with tired eyes. "Because they thought we are weak," she replied. "But we are not." That night, nobody slept. The villagers stayed outside, sitting close together under the stars. They shared what little food and water they had left. They made sure the fires didn't spread. They comforted the wounded and cried for the lost. Turkimbi stayed awake, watching the sky. The stars were still shining. The same sky. But everything else had changed. The night had finally ended. The sky turned light gray, then slowly orange as the sun began to rise over the quiet village of Tirsiakam. But the village was not like it used to be. Smoke rose from some of the huts. Ashes covered the ground where houses once stood. The sweet smell of roasted yam was gone. In its place was the bitter smell of smoke, burnt wood, and fear. Turkimbi sat outside with his little sister Ladi. She was holding her cloth doll tightly, still not speaking much. Their mother was sweeping slowly around the compound with a tired look on her face. Everyone in the family had barely slept. The village was silent now, but not peaceful. It was the silence of people who were too tired, too shocked, and too scared to speak. People came out of their homes one by one, moving slowly, looking around like they weren't sure what they would see. Some houses were untouched. Others were broken. Shops near the market had been looted. Doors hung open. Broken plates, scattered clothes, and spilled food lay everywhere. Turkimbi looked to the side and saw Baba, sitting on a wooden bench, his walking stick leaning beside him. Baba looked older than before, like the weight of the night had made his back heavier. He didn't speak much that morning. He just stared at the road where the bandits had entered. Suddenly, a loud cry broke the silence. It came from a woman near the edge of the village. Turkimbi's heart jumped. He looked up and saw people running toward the sound. He followed, holding Ladi's hand tightly. They reached a small hut that had been burnt halfway. In front of it, a woman was on her knees, crying and holding the body of a man. It was her husband. He had been shot. Turkimbi had never seen someone cry like that before, not just with tears, but with their whole body. Her pain filled the air like smoke. Soon, more cries followed. Another family had lost someone too. In total, 3 people from the village had died. One young man was missing. Some said he ran into the bush and didn't return. People began helping each other. Men started clearing broken doors and fixing roofs with sticks and leaves. Women helped clean the roads, picking up scattered things. Some children tried to help, but many just sat quietly, not playing like before. The village elder, Pa Ortiz, called a meeting under the big tree near the market. Everyone came, sitting in silence. Pa Ortiz stood up slowly and looked at everyone. His voice was low and rough. "My people," he said, "our village was attacked. Our homes were touched. Our hearts were broken. But we are still here." People nodded slowly. This is not the first time it has happened in Benue. Other villages have faced the same. But we cannot let fear eat our hearts. We must protect each other. We must rebuild. Someone asked, "Where were the police? Why didn't they come?" Another person shouted, "How can we live like this, always afraid?" Pa Ortiz raised his hand. "We have already sent word to the police. They say they will come. We will also speak with the local government. But until then, we must stay strong. We must not let this break us." Later that afternoon, a police truck arrived. 4 officers stepped down and walked through the village. They spoke with the elders and asked questions. They wrote things down in notebooks and promised to investigate. But many villagers didn't feel hopeful. They had heard those promises before. Turkimbi stood near the side, watching the officers talk. He held Ladi close, even though she wasn't crying anymore. He heard two women nearby whispering. "This is not just robbery," one said. "They came to scare us. Maybe they want us to leave this land." The other woman shook her head. "But we will not go. This is our home." Back at home, Baba called Turkimbi to sit beside him. "You see, my boy," he said, "bravery is not just about fighting. Sometimes, it is about staying. About waking up the next morning even when your heart is afraid." Turkimbi looked at his grandfather. He thought about what he saw that morning, the crying mother, the burnt shop, the children without smiles. He also thought about the people cleaning together, fixing things, sharing food, and helping each other. He nodded slowly. "I understand now, Baba." Baba smiled. "Good. Because one day, you too will help protect this village, not just with your hands, but with your heart." That night, Turkimbi sat outside again under the mango tree. The stars were shining above, just like the night before. But something had changed in him. The fear was still there, but now it was sitting beside something else, strength. He held Ladi's hand and whispered, "We are still here."